Hello, Guitar Smarts fans. Before you check out this podcast, I want to make you aware of a cool new place where you can interact with other Guitar Smarts listeners. It's a Facebook group called the Guitar Geek Hangout. That's where we hang out and talk about all things guitar. So, if you like the Guitar Smarts podcast, come and chat with Kieran and myself over in the Guitar Geek Hangout on Facebook. Maybe check out some pre-podcast clips and even get involved in asking and answering lots of questions from the other page dwellers. Hope to see you there.
I know. I kind of dipped a toe in, realised, oh yeah, this is like quite nice, and then decided to go for a swim, and then quickly realised that there were monsters there. That's
it. It's like you don't build a Lego set the same way you build a jigsaw. That's the difference. There's an analogy for you. I'm going to let that.
I'm going to think on that for the rest of the day. That's going to stay with me, mostly because I'm dramatically hungover.
Greetings, welcome back to the Guitar Sports Podcast. Remember, if you're an everyday gigging guitarist, this is the podcast for you. Thanks for joining us for another podcast, the final episode of the year 2022. This week we're talking about the past year gone by and the new year ahead of us. We think back and talk about the best new gear of 2022, money we've spent, new songs we've learned, gigs we've been to, and what we want and hope for in 2023. Come and see us on the Guitar Geek Hangout page on Facebook. Tell us what your hopes and desires are for the guitar endeavours in the coming year. We'd love to hear from you. Remember to like and subscribe to this podcast on your preferred podcast app. This way, you'll get alerts when a new podcast is released, and that means you won't miss the next show. Use the LinkTree in the description of this show to get to our Buy Me a Coffee page if you feel generous, and links to some of our Spotify playlists from previous episodes are in our LinkTree too. Come and see us on the socials, especially on the Guitar Geek Hangout page on Facebook. You can interact with Kieran and myself and many other guitar nerds just like us. And if you really want to support us, use the links to leave us a rating or a review. This is the best way to support us, and it really helps us to grow. So one thing left to say, that's Happy New Year to you. We hope you've had a great year, and we hope that you do have a great year ahead as well. We look forward to bringing more of the Guitar Smarts podcast to you this year. That's about enough from me. Let's get to it. Hey. It's apparently now is the time that my little TP-Link home mesh thing decided to crash and just reboot itself. And I think the computer may be at fault, but
exactly, never mind. We're back. Anyway. We're back.
Is there a delay? Say yes when I say go.
Yes.
Okay. I think we're okay. That was about a second. Anyway,
I'm here. I mean, it may be the audio that's delayed. It may just be me. I think I'm on about at least a 2-second delay today.
Oh,
generally.
Okay. So there's the inherent Kieran inbuilt Christmas party delay.
I woke up feeling fine. I woke up feeling absolutely fine, and I do feel fine at the moment. But
just tired.
Yeah, let's see. I'm a little bit fragile. Yeah, I went to bed about it's quite respectable. 2 in the morning. Yeah. Not too bad.
No, that's pretty respectable.
Yeah, quite respectable, I thought, and I was very well behaved. And I've been on a health and fitness kick for the last few months or so. So I had a few drinks, but nothing too horrendous. So yeah. Anyway,
good for you. At least you haven't destroyed your life like some people do at Christmas parties. Some people literally destroy everything, don't they? Right. So anyway, Kieran. So technically, when this podcast goes out, it'll be just after Christmas. If I've edited it and everything at the right time, it'll be going out on the 26th, and that really means it's going to be the last podcast of the year. And the next one that we release after this it'll be 2023. We'll be looking forward to a new year. And I thought that this is probably a good week for us to have the end of year chat. Let's talk about various things. Like the. And I think actually you did make a list, but I'm going to kind of take credit for it and pretend that I made the list. I didn't. Yeah, we thought we'd talk about the best new gear that maybe we've tried or that we've bought. What's the best gear that we've actually bought? The best new song that we've learned was a good one that you put on the best gig we went to, resolutions and things for 2023. Let's take it apart. Let's take 2022 apart. And I think one of the places we should start is like last year, because we kind of had the same conversation at the end of last year, if you remember. We were talking about resolutions and things that we wanted to achieve. And I wondered if you remembered things that you'd considered that you wanted to achieve or try or do this year. And I wondered if you wanted to comment on how that's gone for you this year.
Wow. I'm struggling to remember who I am today. No, I'm joking.
Okay.
That's deep. God, we've gone profound and deep early. No, but that's a really good question, mate. Because oftentimes, right, we set these resolutions generally, be it related to guitar stuff, be it related to health and fitness or family or whatever it is. But how often do we go back and see if we actually achieve them, right? That's, I guess, the problem with a lot of resolutions is you start in earnest and then by January, February or whatever time, it's kind of fizzled out and you gave it a go, but it wasn't sustained. But actually, and we've talked about this before on the podcast, just the virtue of you and I sitting down pretty in a disciplined way, right? Every week and reflecting back on the previous week and what we said and then what we've got coming up next week has actually been amazing and something I just love doing with you because it creates this ongoing thing throughout the year where you'll remind me of something that I've said I was going to do that I'd forgotten about, or and vice versa. I'll ask you about, how did that go that you were working on? And you're like, oh yeah, let me tell you about it. So, so actually, I think one of the things that I'm really kind of delighted about from this year is the fact that I think I have managed to at least stick to a lot of the resolutions that I made personally, professionally, guitar-wise, health-wise, because there's that sentiment, isn't there? If you say it and keep talking about it and keep telling other people about it, then it's kind of out there, and you've got to kind of make it happen. Otherwise, it's you're just kind of basically lying to yourself. So, well, one of the things was to get back out and gigging with another band. I had a bit of a rough ride with a band last year. I mean, it was great to be out and gigging with them, and it was a rock band that I really enjoyed the music with. But yeah, for a variety of reasons, that band was not the right for me, and it kind of left me a little bit cold about where I saw my kind of non-professional gigging kind of weekend warrior lifestyle kind of going. Was I just going to stay at home and play and just not get out there and gig? You know, after the whole lockdown thing and then giving it a go and getting back out there with this band and then just really not finding it a very healthy, sustainable environment. And that was a lot to do with, if I'm honest, some of the people in that band, and how they like to work. But then finding another band this year of people that I honestly, I can't, the last time I can remember being in a band where I genuinely liked the people and there was that kind of camaraderie and we looked out for each other, but we also kind of took the music seriously and liked to refine and work on it and get it as sounding as good as we possibly could was when you and I were in Roadrunner together many years ago. And I genuinely feel that with this group of musicians now that I'm gigging with, called the Hot Fuzz, I've stuck to that resolution of getting myself out there, finding time to make it work, finding time to commit to a band, finding time to sit down and learn new material and arrangements, and just the whole kind of, I don't want to use the word hassle, but kind of discipline that it takes to be in a band as a team player and get out there and gigging. And I'm only doing it 2 or 3 times a month, right? I'm not a pro musician like some of the people that listen to this podcast and that I have the pleasure of playing with sometimes when I'm doing depth stuff. Those guys, that's their career. It's, so yeah.
You're a weekend warrior, aren't you?
I'm a weekend warrior. I'm very proud to be. Very proud to be so. So that's probably my first resolution is I promised myself I wouldn't just hang up the guitar in terms of live gigging, and I would force myself, find a new band and put in the work to be in that band. And that's going really well and I'm really enjoying it. And yeah, I feel very lucky and very blessed to have that, because it doesn't come along.
No, it really doesn't.
Every day.
It really doesn't just come along. That's a lesser spotted thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that kind of situation in a band? I think it's probably more common to have the situation that you're in just before that, and because people clash, people in bands don't always see things from everyone else's point of view. Creative people can often be difficult people. That's not to say that that's true of everyone. It's certainly not true of everyone I've ever met who's a creative person. But I think, band situations can often be fraught with character clashes and things like that. And I think to be in the situation you're in now with a band where you're all getting on great and you're all pulling in the same direction, that's fantastic. That's something to keep hold of as long as you can for so many reasons, not just for the sake of being out there gigging and playing music, but, for your mental health, for things that are important about, just everyday life, having something to take the stresses away, something to, have as a hobby and stuff. It's really great. And chuffed to bits for you, man. I think that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you, mate. And some of it is luck more than judgment and just being in the right place at the right time and all of that kind of stuff. But it could have quite easily not happened, or I could have just it's very easy to get distracted and lazy, for me, with other stuff going on in my life and just go, I can't fit it in at the moment. But when you find a way to fit it in, at least, again, for me, it enriches the other parts of my life exactly as you said. That you phrased it perfectly. I probably hadn't appreciated it until you phrased it like that. But for my own mental health, it's good exercise, gets me out of the house, gives me a new friendship group that we all have a commonality in terms of wanting to create some music together. We have a laugh. We push each other to be better at our craft. It's cool, man. It's really cool. Really cool. But how about you in terms of resolutions? There's so many things you and I discussed at the back end of last year. I remember there was a variety of things from like rigs, in terms of what equipment you were using, what you were thinking of doing with your gear. There was some guitars you wanted to work on. You've been on this like really inspirational piece of like self-development in terms of playing and pushing your own playing and learning new stuff and getting back to challenging. You've done way better than I have this year at really pushing your boundaries as a player. Do how has that year been for you when you look back on all of those?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I did make a note about resolutions for 2023, but one of the ones that I'm going to come back to, which is one of the big resolutions I kind of wanted to make for this year that I don't think I've done well at all, was listening to music for music's sake. I remember saying that the relationship I had with music in general, in listening to music, I thought was poor, in the sense that I generally listen to music whilst doing something else. Like music is like listening to something is like a secondary thing in whatever the moment is, and whether that's when I'm working and I'm listening to something in the background, or driving, or whatever. And what I thought was important to try and do this year was to segregate time in my schedule to listen to music as a primary thing to do. And I've tried to do that this year. I've tried to be more focused on listening to music and listening to songs and albums and things I wanted to listen to, and focusing on on kind of, I'm here to listen to this, I'm not doing something else. But my problem is that generally speaking, at the moment, I only listen to music on either the computer or on my phone. So there's always this inherent distraction built into the device I'm listening on. And I find sometimes I'm listening to something and I think, oh, that's great. I wonder if there's a live version. And then you can immediately go and try and find a live version on YouTube, or I kind of go, I wonder if there's a tab for that. Do you know what I mean? It's inherent. My mind can't seem to shut off from having these distractions that the music brings, almost. And so I kind of feel like I've failed on that one this year in kind of listening to music for music's sake. But I do want to get better at it next year. But in terms of like continued learning and improvement and stuff, I'm kind of happy with. I think I'm a better guitarist now at the end of this year than I was at the beginning of the year. I feel like I've got more understanding. I think one of the things I feel like I've done well this year is I've learned to. I feel like I've learned to kind of visualize and navigate the guitar a little bit better, intervallically, and to understand how to kind of play and follow the chord structure of a song and play in accordance with that chord structure. I've basically tried to free myself from pentatonic shenanigans as much as possible, and try to think more melodically, trying to think more about the journey, the kind of the chords take you on in a song, and trying to follow that. And that's opened up my playing in a way. But at the moment, that's really centered around anything that's diatonic, anything that's major scale orientated, anything that is, just based around, the major scale basically, and the modes. And I feel like really comfortable around all of those things. But what I want to do more next year, I think, in my playing is become more harmonically aware. And become more aware of sounds and things that aren't centric to the major scale, and try and, I'm not saying become a jazz guitarist, but there's an element of that. There's an element of being able to feel a little bit more harmonically free. And, and I think I'm going to start with trying to get to the same level of understanding of like the melodic minor scale and its modes and the harmonic minor scale and its modes as I am with the major scale and its modes.
Wow.
So it's going to take some doing. That's probably, a few years' work. But that's kind of where I feel I want to be with my guitar playing, is I want to feel less restricted by my own incapabilities. That's all it is.
Sorry to interrupt this conversation. However, if you've made it this far, you should definitely subscribe to the show on your favourite podcast app. Go and do that now and come right back. I'll wait here. Hey, welcome back.
Yeah.
And also, it's the thing of, is we spoke, almost exactly to the year we spoke to Richard Shaw, the former Cradle of Filth guitarist. And he spoke about being, the four levels of competency, about being, unconsciously incompetent, and then being consciously incompetent, and then being consciously competent. And I'm trying to move things up through that kind of scale, if you like. I'm trying to recognize where I'm consciously competent and recognize where I'm consciously incompetent and whatnot. And I'm trying to move those things that I recognize up through that scale. And I think for the most part, if it's blues scale stuff, if it's blues improvisation and Clapton songs, I'm up there in, unconsciously competent, But there's a lot of stuff where I'm consciously incompetent, and stuff that I'm consciously competent at, which is, is satisfying to a degree, but I want to get unconsciously competent. It's like speaking, I'm not really aware of the thought process that's happening subconsciously when I talk to you. I just know that, you know what I mean? It's like speaking a language. When you're learning a language, you're kind of working hard to know everything until you get to a point where you don't have to even think about it. It's that little drop off at the end where you go, okay, I'm so good at this now that it's subconscious. It's now it's computer code that's happening in the subconscious part of my brain, not the conscious part. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to take all this stuff I know and move it into the unconscious part, and leave space to move stuff into the conscious part. Do you know what I mean? I'm like,
I totally know what you mean. And I'm no way near your level of like unlocking the fretboard and music theory and all of that. I can play. I know I can play, but there's certain genres and certain things where I can just relax and enjoy it, and my head doesn't get in the way of overthinking what I'm trying to do, because it is like I'm speaking a language that I'm fluent in certain genres. And then there'll be other things where I'm sitting at home trying to academically figure it out, trying to better understand what I'm doing, as you say, to be more aware what I'm doing and what effect that is creating. But if I try to replicate that in a live setting in that way, even if I feel like I grasp little elements of it at home, sitting and practicing, I can't do it in a live setting, because there isn't that window of space or that time frame for me to think and then play. I mean, there is a little bit, but not in an enjoyable way. So often, I just go back to first principles and when I'm playing live of the stuff I know, and little happy accidents creep in, and you get brave moments in the set list where you go, oh, I am actually going to consciously think about trying this, and I'm going to try it and see if it works, and hopefully it does, and then sometimes it doesn't, and you kind of, it's reaching that point of just, I mean, when you watch some of these incredible like players, I mean, I don't know who springs to mind. I mean, I'm not a huge fan per se of trying to emulate his playing, but I'm a huge fan of watching him play for this reason. Somebody like Guthrie Govan, where you just watch him and you just go, well, it doesn't look like he's thinking at all about what he's doing, and yet what he is doing is so complex and so rooted in a deep understanding that he's obviously just got it to a level where it's second nature. I don't know. I don't know if that's what you're trying to say, but that's kind of how I'm hearing it. Is some of these things that you're hearing in your head becoming second nature rather than a locked.
Exactly that. It's kind of, you want to hear you can kind of hear in your mind what it is you want to do. You'd agree you have those moments, right? Let's say whether you're playing live or at home, where you hear in your mind something that you want to play, whether it's something you can play or something that you can't. We all have that ability to kind of hear music, and our music is something. That's the most amazing thing about music, I think, is that it's realized internally sometimes before it becomes real. That's the deep thought of the year, maybe. I don't know, but
No, I totally agree. Agree. I'll hum something if I'm coming up with a hook or a melody line, or trying to just figure out a piece that somebody else has written. I'll hum it, and I'll hear it in my head first, and then I'll try and vocalize it. With that before I even pick up a guitar, so I can just like tune into the key, but also the intervals of the notes, and then I try and replicate it with my fingers, and so you can do that in the car, and you can do that walking down the street, and I do it when I'm swimming sometimes. Like I'll be swimming, but I'll have these melodies going on in my head, and I'm trying to just lock them in my head before I even start to play them. So I totally get that.
Okay, and that's the thing for me, is for every bit of learning and self-improvement in my guitar playing that I want to make is all about removing the obstacles that are always there between my ability physically on the guitar and what I hear and those things that I hear in my mind. There's always something between. There's always a gap in capability, or there's a gap in knowledge, or a gap in something in the way. Even just sometimes confidence, even just the lack of willingness to fail doing the thing I can hear in my mind, right? When actually that's probably the most important thing to actually do. Failure is, that's the only route to getting better at anything, is failure. And the people that are successful in life are the people who don't give up. That's something I think I've come to realize this year, is that people that do well at things, people that are better musicians or anything, businessmen, engineers, whatever it is, the people that do the most are the people that don't give up.
Oh yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Sure.
And I think
completely.
that's something that I'm kind of realizing this year, is that I just want to make sure I'm always learning and getting towards that point of being able to. And it's not that I want to be some kind of Guthrie Govan guitarist, like you said, but one thing that you certainly see when you watch him play is, you're right, he's not thinking about all those crazy things he's doing, but you can tell he's thinking about certain things moment to moment. How he might resolve some crazy run that he does, or how he might come back to some kind of motif instead of some blues thing that he's doing. He's thinking about things from moment to moment, and how he gets from moment to moment is unrestricted. That's the thing that he can throttle up at any time. Is I don't have to think about this, because actually when you play with the capability he has, he probably plays quicker and faster than the human brain almost has the ability to think about anyway.
It would certainly seem that. That's why I go, right. He can't be thinking about it.
So it's almost like the thinking of it has to happen in his hand, because he's playing faster than the electrical impulses can get to his brain and back or something.
Yeah.
But that's the thing I guess you're getting to. It's like you start thinking more about
I always come back to the analogy of talking. You know, one of the reasons I think I've come to realize over the years that music theory is important. And it's easy for people to dismiss music theory. And I don't necessarily think that's wrong if it's not important to you. But it's analogous to me to being able to talk and learn to talk when you're a child. We all, as kids, learn to speak, but before we learn to read and before we learn to write. But if you want to be able to read and write, you have to learn to read and write. That doesn't mean you can't talk to someone.
Sure.
But you're going to be able to, you know, communicate better with the world and people around you in a million different ways if you learn how to read and write. And for me, it's the same with music. We can all go to, you know, we can all enjoy music and enjoy playing guitar for the entirety of our lives without dissatisfaction if we never learn music theory. But the world, it will open up to you as you kind of learn things that you think are unnecessary. I think that's the way I see it anyway. You know, it's kind of like it goes hand in hand. It's going to improve your kind of the horizons that, you know, and the things that are available to you as a musician if you learn those things. And I guess I kind of want to just, you know, be open to learning all those things. And so, yeah, 2023 for me is going to be about that, continued learning, continuing to try and, you know, improve what I know as well as what I can do. And that's, you know, that's really it for me. So coming out of 2022, I want to carry on listening to music for music's sake. But one of the other things I wanted to mention as well is the big resolution for 2023 is one of the things I've been doing this year as I've been practicing stuff is one of the things I've struggled with is I've not been able to find things like backing tracks or material that I can listen to and practice guitar over. So what I've been doing is making my own. And I've kind of made 3 or 4 so far. Some stuff's pretty rubbish. Some stuff's, I think, good. And it's been fun making them. And so one of the things for 2023 is I'm going to create a Guitar Smarts product of backing tracks that are going to be available, hopefully kind of by the summer, something like that. Because it takes time.
Yeah,
it takes time to do, especially when you've got a day job. But and what it's going to be a collection of backing tracks, and some of them are going to be functional, some of them are going to be non-functional. And what I mean by that is some of them are just going to be non-functional tracks, so they're just going to be hopefully fun musical tracks to just jam over. Whatever you can just to kind of fun. There's no real reason for the track over there. It'll be in a key, and you can practice playing over it. And some of them are going to be more functional, and by that I mean that there's going to be like a specific purpose as to what to practice over it. Yes. So, for example, one of the tracks I'm going to do is just going to be like a power chord vamp. So it's not going to be anything more than like the root and the fifth, just as a power chord would be. And the reason for that is just so you can kind of play the different scale choices. You could play a major scale over it. You could play, a minor scale. You could play like a Lydian scale. It wouldn't matter except for something that's got a flat 5 in it, or. But it's things like that. And then there's going to be, I want to do something where we do like rolling minor third key changes, because that, is something to practice targeting so you can solo knowing that a key change is coming up and then trying to make sure your solo resolves naturally. So things like that. Some, one of them, backing tracks, is going to be specifically targeting like the Lydian mode so that you can practice playing Lydian, just things like that. So there'll be some just fun backing tracks to do whatever you want, and some that are going to specifically target certain functions, so functional and non-functional stuff. And I kind of want to aim to have about 10 tracks done by the summer, and then we'll make them available to Guitar Smarts listeners and everyone to download and boost maybe some tabs to go along with them and some scale shapes and things and I kind of see it as is like it's going to be like the session guitarist's workout kind of thing, like what would Steve Lukather do? That's maybe what you can think. Whenever you're playing these tracks, you just think...
That's a question you ask yourself with everything, isn't it?
Well, most days, yeah. When I pick up the guitar, when I make dinner, everything.
Toast, yeah. How would Steve Lukather butter this?
That's it. So, yeah, I guess that's it for me, in terms of my resolutions. Wow. This year I feel like has been a good progress, maybe not as much as I thought, but I'm looking forward to I feel more focused if anything. I feel like if I've not progressed as much as I wanted to, I feel like I know better what I want to progress on as we go into the next year.
Mate, that's super clear. That's crystal clear. I mean, there's so much I love about what you've just said. I mean, but fundamental thing that really resonated with me, I'm not sure I could say the same, was where you said you feel that you're a better guitarist this year than you were the previous year. And that's a small statement, but there's a big thing that sits underneath that. And you're a very humble, self-deprecating guy. So I know you wouldn't say that unless you genuinely felt it. And you don't brag about anything. That's just you making a statement of fact. And I'm so pleased that you can say that and recognize that, which is really cool. But then next year, I'm super, super excited about these backing tracks because you've told me for a little while that you're working on these. And again, because you are, quite humble in your way you put stuff together, I know you won't want to put something out there that you're not entirely happy with. But the fact that we're going to be able to share these with our listening audience, with the Guitar Geek Hangout, our little group on Facebook, and with the Guitar Smarts listening audience. And genuinely, like, right, if our listeners haven't got the vibe yet of this podcast, or you're new to listening, like this is your safe place. There is no judgment here.
That's
literally, right. we take the piss out of ourselves, we take the piss out of other people, but none of it is with malicious intent, or we don't profess to be anything that we're not, right? And we just learn. We just like to learn and know what, that we've got so much to still learn. So I think this is great. We'll do some recordings of ourselves playing on this.
For sure.
And we'll put them out there. And then how wonderful would it be if some of our listeners did the same and just, we can help each other out. And, most importantly, I think it's just going to be really good fun. I think it's going to be super fun. I know there's a very academic and kind of teaching element to part of this, but I think it's just going to be really good fun just to see what people come up with, and just hearing how different people approach these things. So I agree. That's going to be cool.
Actually, one of the things I should add is one of the things I want to do as well this year. You kind of touched upon it. Is I want to put more of me playing guitar on my social media. Not because I'm trying to raise any kind of social media profile. That's not important to me or a desire. But I'm kind of ringing back. Do you remember when we interviewed Matt Lake? Way back year before last, I think it was, and something stuck with me ever since we spoke to him. Which is when he said it was so important to record yourself playing guitar every so often, so that you can look back over those videos and you can see your progress. It's so important to see your progress. And also there's an accountability factor as well, where if you kind of, if you post those videos and if you kind of tell yourself that you're gonna track these things but make them available to see so that you're accountable for the progress you're making, I think that might be part of the key to speeding up, my progress as a guitarist next year, is trying to maybe make myself a bit more accountable for, the progress I'm trying to make, and make it, visible for me to see, so that I can go, oh, I have really got better at that, even if I didn't realize it, because here's a video from 6 months ago and I was terrible at that and now I'm better and I hadn't maybe noticed the improvement myself. And, I really appreciate Matt Lake sharing that advice way back when he was on the show. We need to get him back on to have a chat about various things, which I know we were trying to do this year. Things haven't quite lined up right, but it'd be really great to get him back on, because he's
he's keen. He's really keen to come back on, and he teaches my kids guitar. They're making some real progress. There's some particularly with my eldest in the last few weeks. There's just been some moments where you can see like some step changes happening in his playing, and like he's a beginner. Of course he's a beginner. And Matt has this wonderful like conversation with me where we're like, this isn't about like, trying to get him to be the next Steve Vai. This is just about getting the principles and the basics and him enjoying it and having fun, so that this foundational stuff is there, because then when he gets to kind of, a few years down the line, it's all going to be the bedrock is there. He's done this, but I just in the last couple of weeks, both my kids that Matt teaches, particularly my eldest, kind of 9 years old now, really starting to embrace guitar playing and wanting to play every day off his own decision. And that's how he wants to use his free time. And he wants to listen to more music, and he just wants to sit and absorb music and devour it. He's got the best flipping music taste ever. It's amazing. Well, because Matt's teaching him stuff, I'm giving him stuff, Uncle Damien gives him stuff, and it's just he's just becoming this little melting pot of stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool, man. It's really cool. So, yeah, we need to get Matt back on for sure.
So, what about 2023 for you? What are you looking at? Are you going to any specific thoughts, desires, ambitions?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, again, I'm going to come back to that statement that you said. Is I want to be able to say unequivocally in 12 months' time that I am a better guitarist than I was here and now, and I'm not as humble and self-deprecating as you, which is probably the reason why I don't push myself far enough. If I can wail over a blues track or go out and play in a rock band or do a decent covers gig and blaze a few solos, and people come up to me and go, "That was brilliant," that kind of is enough of a positive feedback loop for me to go, "Yeah, I'm happy with my playing." But really, if I sat down and thought about it, there's so much I'm not happy that I can't yet do in terms of theoretical understanding and composition and kind of, learning that language that is music in a more rapid way. I find it difficult to learn stuff as I get older, and partly because I've reached a certain level of playing where it's easy for me to just go and noodle off and do something that I already know how to do.
It's the temptation.
Yeah, man, it's constant. It's just you get it. So I think it's trying to get out of my own way and actually step through that door about embracing learning more. And I started it particularly in lockdown when you and I were chatting, and I bought some theory books, and I spoke to Matt Lake about it, and I spoke to Damien about it, and I spoke to you about it, and all of you guys were super helpful at dropping me little bits of tips and tricks. You were recording little video clips for me, trying to help explain modes to me in a way that I could get. And Matt Lake was sending me little bits and pieces around, here's how to really kind of unlock some of the bits of the fretboard that might be evading you. So, and I started to make progress, and I started to unlock some of this stuff. And then I kind of scared myself a little bit because I was just I'm starting to understand some things now, and it's making me realize that how much I really don't understand. It's I want to go back to my kind of oblivious, happy accident place, which is just
you weren't ready for these powers. Is that what it was?
No, literally, I tasted it, and I was like, there, I can see. And then I went and foolishly watched a bunch of Rick Beato videos, and then literally just went, run away. Just run away. You are not ready. You are really not ready. So I will
overstimulated yourself a little bit. I think that's all it is. You just
it was a little bit.
Yeah, you opened the floodgates too soon. That's all it was. Yeah, you got to let it trickle through. Don't open the gates fully. Just peek. Just keep peeking around the corner.
I know.
That's the way.
I know. I kind of dipped a toe in, realised, this is quite nice, and then decided to go for a swim, and then quickly realised that there were monsters there
that's it. It's like you don't build a Lego set the same way you build a jigsaw. That's the difference. There's an analogy for you. I'm going to let that flow.
I'm going to think on that for the rest of the day. That's going to stay with me, mostly because I'm dramatically hungover.
You get what I mean, though, right? Do I have to explain to people?
No, you don't have to. No, don't explain that. That's the point of that. Is I need to find my own explanation within that, and then grasshopper, I will be enlightened. Once I understand that, then I'm ready. Then I'm ready. But before you go back to that theory book, Kieran, go away and think on this statement. And when you understand that statement,
I'm going to start coming up with really random, nonsensical statements. No, just to throw at you to see, so you can you can grapple with the thing of does he mean this? Or is this just intended to throw me, you know?
No, you can so easily do that, man. With me, I know you can. I literally hang on your words of wisdom. So you can totally play with my brain with some of these ones. Yeah.
Why tie your shoelaces with both hands if you can do it with just one?
Oh, this is messing with my head. This is, that's kind of the point. So, yeah, look. Other than learning to tie my shoelaces with one hand, and
that one was nonsense, by the way.
No, that one was nonsense. Yeah, exactly. Just do it with two hands; it's easier. Or just buy like Velcro shoes and make it just get slip-ons. Exactly. Where we're going, Matthew, there are no shoes.
The pentatonic scale is the slip-on of the guitar world.
Oh, it really is. It really is. That's a comfortable pair of slippers right now.
Where are we going with this?
I'm not entirely sure. We were going to 2023, but I think also let's just find out what happens when we get there, man. Because like oftentimes I think, and this is some of my reflections on 2022, the whole post-COVID thing, opening myself up to new experiences and just going with the flow and just doing stuff and saying yes to more stuff, has just been fun in 2022. And it's led me down like with guitar and, like discovering new music and stuff. It's just led me to a place of fun. And so whilst I think it's nice to set these resolutions and keep each other true to them and talk about it on the podcast and stuff, some of the best moments from 2022 have been like the surprise moments, like the things that have just happened where we've just gone, wow, that was brilliant. You know, the King gig, for example, that was a spontaneous thing that we went to, and we did a whole episode on that, so we won't go back over it again, but that was one of my highlights from this year.
Well, for sure, me too.
Going and seeing Guns N' Roses, like with the near original lineup, for me was like one of my bucket list childhood dream moments, and it was everything I wanted it to be in many ways. But then being totally taken by surprise that the opening act was Gary Clark Jr., who literally just had the best guitar tone, the most gorgeous 335 guitar, and rinsed like the blues just in a way that just left me broken in a good way. Not like broken how I am today. But that was too much spiced rum last night. But yeah, little surprise moments like that. Finding that guitar, that when we went to the guitar show, we finally got to the guitar show, and then Guitar Safari fail turned into a Guitar Safari like success, and I found this guitar that I'm going to give to my kid, and just little things like that have happened throughout the year, which have just been fun. Playing in this band, depping, doing some dep gigs for Damien and his band. Just saying yes to doing stuff, has taken me to different places, and so I'm already looking at my calendar for 2022. Mate, it's pretty amazing. I feel quite blessed that actually all the books are opening and stuff for next year with venues and clubs and stuff. So I think we're pretty much now already 2 gigs a month, some months 3 gigs already for next year. And we've got a couple of nice little slots where we can take holidays and stuff with the family, and leaving some space for some wedding gigs and stuff to drop in. So my diary's kind of filling up, but I've also started blocking out some weekends where I know there's not a gig, and I'm going to keep those free, but to do stuff like you and I will go out and do something, go on Guitar Safari or go and watch a gig somewhere, or
guitar show.
Go to a guitar show. Just keep some time free just to and then I'm going to look for stuff that's coming up and fill my diary with some cool stuff that will just, hey, I tell you what I do want to do. Here's one that's just come to mind. I'm sure I told you this, but it was towards the end of the guitar show as we were going home. But Crimson Guitars and Ben from Crimson Guitars kindly said, "Look, come down, come and pay us a visit, and come and have a look." And because I was telling him I want to go on his luthier course, and I was telling him how much I love using his product for some of the guitar tech stuff I do. And he said, well, whenever you want to do the course, give me a ring. Super friendly, lovely guy to meet in person, if albeit just very briefly at the guitar show. But he also said, just come down and come and check out the stuff. We made a lot of contacts this year that we need to follow up on. So Crimson guitars. Some of the luthiers that we met at the guitar show have said to come and get on the podcast. Couple of guitar shop and pedal makers and stuff that I met out and about have said they'd love to do a slot on the show. So actually, we need to get ourselves organised, because there's some great show content coming up from connections we've made this year, all of whom are interested on coming on the show and having a chat with us. So that's something I need to get on
for
to.
Sure.
Get some people booked in. Yeah, man. What a year!
That's awesome. I mean, well, let's wrap up on a couple of things then. Like, we haven't talked about gear yet. You know, what's the best? What's our favourite gear of the year? And if we've got any gear acquisition, intentions for 2023. But what do you think has been the best thing, or what, the best new gear that's come out this year, or what's been impactful for you?
Wow, that's a big question, isn't it? What's been impactful for me gear-wise? So I think there are, and I've tried some, I think there's some really fantastic like amps and modelling stuff coming out that I've been able to try bits of. I haven't bought any of it because, I'm still sticking with my traditional rig. But I think there is some stuff now that is coming out, which is becoming really affordable and really pushing the boundaries of the tone that you can get. The Spark amp, for one, for me, that was this year, right at the beginning of this year. Great piece of gear that I'm really enjoying playing and messing around with. The amount of cheap pedals now that are out there that are actually producing some really great tone is and ever was it thus. There was always pedals and stuff to buy, but I think now the price points of some of these pedals coming out is just fantastic. My clone wasn't this year, my Wish clone, but that's one of the best things that I've ever bought. I freaking love that pedal. It's just so cool, man. It's just so cool. I would struggle to pick one piece of gear that's come out this year that I think is the standout thing for me. If I'm honest, there's so much. I haven't transformed my rig this year though in the way that you have. For me, this year has been about me consolidating the gear that I use, not necessarily buying as much, although I have bought a few pieces this year. I think the guitars I've bought have been for other people. I don't think I've actually bought myself any guitars this year. I went through a spate of buying more guitars last year.
But, the Tokais were last year, weren't they?
The Tokais were last year, so I've just been playing those and enjoying those and really consolidating what's on my pedal board and refining that. My pedal that I've become really more familiar with this year, and it's been a bit of a battle, I must say, originally to find the right place for it in my board. But now I'm really enjoying playing it, and that's the STO Overdrive, the way huge one that you recommended to my wife. You recommended it to her last year, and it was my birthday present last year, but I hadn't really put it on the board until this year. But I've been gigging it all this year and really enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, that's probably one of my favorite bits of gear this year. The 1991 pedal. That's been really cool. I've had a little play with that now. It is a little Pearl Jam pedal in a box. It's really cool. It's a lot of fun, and it's not a lot of money. That was some really fun stuff. But what about you? In terms of gear, you've gone fully transformational this year.
Yeah, man. I'm still all about the digital. I'm still loving that. Don't forget, the other major thing for me this year was I turned 40 and I treated myself to 2 new guitars. Yeah. I got the Gretsch. I got the beautiful Gretsch, G56 22T in Georgia Green, which, I still absolutely adore that guitar. Yeah. But I also got myself a really cool Squier limited edition model, Esquire, which is, so it's the Esquire, so it's the single pickup, but it's on like a 60s style telly, so it's not a guitar Fender ever made, so it's kind of one of those special run kind of what if kind of guitars, limited edition.
Yeah.
So it's got like a bound body, but it's an Esquire.
It's nice.
Interestingly, I actually took the pick guard off it the other day because I was like, I wonder if it's routed for a neck pickup, and it isn't.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a shame because I kind of thought if it's routed for a neck pickup, I could actually just get a new pick guard for it with a neck pickup in, and then whenever I want, I can just quickly chuck that in. I could even put in like some captive screw connectors inside, so I never have to unsolder the pickup. I could just screw the pickup connections in, and then I can interchange that pick guard if I ever want it to be a telly. But no, it's not routed or routed, as our American friends might say.
You could get it routed. It's not.
I might do. To be fair, I might do at some point as a project so that I can potentially, make it a telly but still keep it. And one of the things I'd like to do with that guitar is get a different pickup for it because I do love the sound and feel of that. But I'd love it if the pickup that it has, because it's a single pickup, was just a little bit more kind of woody sounding, maybe a bit darker, a bit fuller, a bit more like a vintage pickup.
Right.
That's something I'll probably look into next year. Try and audition some pickups, maybe see what Iron Gear have got. Look at some other local like Allegory and people like that. Maybe get something custom made by those guys. So that best gear for me that I've actually bought has been those guitars, which I've which have been on my list for years to get as well. So not just enjoying playing guitars, but nice to finally kind of have them in my possession. But this is going to make you laugh because my favorite gear thing that's happened this year, in the industry, has been the firmware update to 3.5 on the Helix.
I know it has. You were so excited about that firmware update.
Well, no, it's just one of the things that surprised me about when I became a Helix owner is I actually never knew, and it makes total sense because this is the same with everything else, that I'm used to in the industry I work in and other things to do with software, is the great thing about the Helix is when you buy a Helix, even though it came out onto the market 7 years ago pretty much, you're not buying a 7-year-old thing. It's all the sounds, all the capability comes from the firmware, and the firmware is updated yearly, maybe twice a year sometime.
Yeah.
And that doesn't just mean make some bug improvements or some usability things. It's sometimes they're adding new effects. And this 3.5 version of software that came out a month or so ago, it's got new speaker IRs, it's got an entirely different cabinet modeling workflow, it's got new effects, you just got a more high fidelity sound now. And I thought a testament to how much better the Helix now sounds is that I spoke to Rory Harvey about it, who's a Helix user as well. And his guitar rig for when he's using the Helix is he actually uses a Strymon Iridium for these guitar sound because he said that's a more natural and amp sounding sound that he wanted than what he was getting out of the Helix Stomp, and he was using the Helix for everything else. And he said now that update is good enough that now he no longer needs the Strymon Iridium to be the amp sound. He said it's the first time he's felt that the amp sound is from the Helix is now that's it. That's all you need now. So we're getting to a point now where I think DSP based guitar sounds like this from the Helix, the software and the modeling is now getting so good that there's really minimal difference now between a traditional rig and that, providing you can recreate the sound in the room well enough.
Yeah,
so that's been the most exciting thing for me. Obviously, the PRS Silver Sky SE was exciting at the beginning of the year. And at the beginning of 2023, I don't know if you saw what I shared with you yesterday, they're bringing out a PRS SE DGT. So the David Grissom guitar that's been a mainstay of the core range for 20 years maybe, based on the McCarthy model with some interesting tweaks. It's got a scale length that I think is just between Fender and Gibson. It's basically like a Les Paul, but with the control configuration and layout that you'd expect from a Strat. And a lot of people, if you go online, you speak to or you see videos of people that own DGTs out of multiple PRSs. A lot of them say that that's like the ultimate PRS. The DGT is the perfect guitar. And they're doing an SE version, and that's going to be coming out next year. They've just announced. I'm super excited about that. That might be that genuinely could be the best £1,000 guitar on the market if they get it right. So I'm really, really excited to see what that guitar is next year.
I love your optimism. I do. I've been let down a little bit, I think, by my own level of expectation versus reality. They are good guitars, the Silver Sky guitars. They're just not. I bought too much into the marketing hype behind them, I think, and forgot basic first principles, which every guitar is different. You will get good ones and you will get duff ones, and be prepared for that. I expected something magical, and what I got was something basic and okay. So yeah, maybe the DGT will be different. Who knows? But at the end of the day, a guitar, they're all individual. Just, you got to try them out. You got to play them. And when you connect with one, then you know that that's the guitar, right? And yes, you can tweak setup and all of those things, but go out, try it and see what it's like. That's what I want to do in 2023. I feel like I'm hankering for another guitar. I can feel it. I don't need it. I don't want it. I know I do want it. Hold on a minute.
I have that same problem with biscuits.
Well, yeah. If only guitars cost the same as biscuits, can you imagine?
No, there you go.
Some of them do. Some of them do. I mean, that 180 quid Harley Benton, that's just ridiculous amounts. No, but I want to buy something that and our dear friend and an avid listener of the show, Mr. Damien Lodrick. Again, he gets a lot of airtime.
Yes.
And well deserved so. But this May, I don't know, maybe this is influencing my desire for a newer guitar, but he's bought a Clapton signature Blackie Strat and a brand new Luke.
Yes, a brand new Luke, which I think we described as swine pink, didn't we? Yeah.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Yeah, it's so beautiful. it's so beautiful. But yeah, I mean, both of those guitars in the space of a couple of months. Wow. Yeah, maybe that's what's feeding into it. But I tell you what, I haven't tried the Luke yet. I will get to try it soon. But that Clapton Strat is a thing of beauty.
That Luke he's bought. He sent me some pictures of it because I assume he knew it would. I'd be delighted.
I told him to. He sent them to me, and I went, "You've got to send this to Matt Oliver. You've got to." And he said, "I will."
I'm chuffed for it. Absolutely chuffed for him. I genuinely am. But my God, the jealousy. I was just like, that might be the sexiest guitar ever in that finish. That kind of that sparkle finish. Yeah. What a guitar! What a perfect instrument that is. That Music Man Luke. I was so chuffed for him that he's got the real deal Music Man Luke. But man, I want to play one so badly. I just want to know what it's like to play Music Man Luke.
Yeah. So well, there you go. 2023, some more guitar safari, some more hunting for the elusive beast that just floats our boat and gets us all excited. Yeah. We've both got some lovely guitars now, but I don't think that quest ever ends. And I'm really enjoying going into guitar shops and looking at stuff and trying stuff. But I must say the bar is now pretty high for me to want to buy something, because I've got some really nice guitars that I enjoy playing. So now it's a case of I don't really need anything. So the next thing I buy, it will be because I play it and I connect with it and I lust after it and I want it. I think that hasn't happened for a long time. I don't know why. I haven't fallen out of love with guitars. I love them. I love to look at them. I love my guitars that I've got. But yeah, for a little while now.
I know what you should do.
Go, tell me.
I think let's say a man of your playing caliber and which is very high, by the way, and capability, and somebody who knows instruments as well as you do, and deserves to play a fantastic instrument. Let's say you had a couple of grand to spend on something, like a Luke, it's a good few grand's worth of a guitar. Do you know what I think you should do with that money instead? I think you should go and do Crimson guitar building course for that amount of money that allows you to actually build the instrument in your mind and build it to the quality that nobody else can. Maybe that's what you should do. I'm not saying that should be, but actually I know that there's a luthier inside you waiting to come out at some point. Sorry, that sounded terrible. You know what I mean?
It sounded painful.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, there's a luthier inside you waiting to come out at some point. And I think you should let him out. That's all I'm saying. I think you should.
Let my luthier out of the closet.
Yeah, you're a fantastic guitar tech. You built a superb Strat years ago. That's, you do wonders with guitars, and I think you should, do some more. You should stretch that muscle.
Yeah, do you know what, mate? I mean, that is my exit plan from my day job and all of that, which I love. I love what I do and the balance of everything. But I've spoken a lot, with my wife and stuff about what I ultimately want to do, and that is, shout out to Big Ray, who is definitely gone down this route. I want to, find a nice little place, get a workshop set up, and have a stream of income, and also just build guitars. Right, that to me is my idea of a life fulfilled. To be able to create something like that. So yeah, that is the next step really. I need to get myself on that proper luthier course and make that dream happen. That's not going to happen in 2023, but it's got to be about incremental steps, right? In the same way that you talked about the next thing that I'd like to do to get to the next level. It's all a journey, but got to keep going on that journey.
You've got to think about the brick, not the wall.
Yeah. Oh, done it again.
That's it.
Again. Oh, that's it. I think that's what I can't go any further than that. Well said, my friend. Well said. I'm looking forward to next year. I really am.
It's going to be great.
We've got some cool. More guitars will be bought. More exciting podcast guests to come. Your backing tracks. Me taking a step further towards a career in lutherie.
There you go.
Wow. Have we just made some? We have made some plans.
Yeah. And I tell you something else we should do this year in 2023 is when we go to a guitar show, maybe we should actually get ourselves a table at a guitar show and actually do a podcast from the show itself. Have our own table where we can speak and record all day and invite other people from the guitar show to come and talk to us and give a platform for other people to come and make people aware of the work they do. Because we saw some amazing luthiers with some amazing skills that I'd never heard of. That deserve to. So it'd be good to do that as well.
We had some great conversations, didn't we? That both you and I were thinking, wow, we could have just recorded that conversation.
Absolutely. The day was full of them. I think we should do that this year. We'll go to the next London Guitar Show and we'll plan to podcast from the show.
Nice. So many plans for next year.
I know.
Mate, there we go.
We've done it. That's 2 years. And actually, we should say a huge thank you to anybody that's listened to any of our podcasts, because we're pretty much 2 years in now, and we've had, we've had the best part of 25,000 downloads. We have a really great but niche following, which is awesome. And, long may it continue to grow, because I certainly still enjoy, having these conversations week in, week out with you, mate. I think maybe I need it more than I realised. I think that's one of the things, to having these conversations with you every week. It's been really helpful, as well as something fun to do.
Wow, there's no. It's not a chore on my part, mate. It's an absolute pleasure. The feeling is very much the same. And you know what? This will almost be 2 years in January since we started this. And I don't know if I ever intended it to go for this long. I certainly hoped it would. But I tell you what has certainly, as well as, because you and I will chat anyway and talk and hang out and go guitar shopping and all of that. That's, one of the many wonderful things about our friendship. But the fact that we've been spurred on by the really lovely feedback that we get from our listeners, the fact that people are engaging on the Guitar Geek Hangout, people kind of talk to us about stuff they like about the show. We're getting new listeners joining us all the time saying, just found your podcast, really enjoying it. Thanks guys, this is great. That's wonderful. That's so heartwarming to us, and certainly makes me want to just keep making content for people to listen to, and just keep doing what we're doing, mate. The Guitar Smarts podcast and all the wonderful listeners that tune in.
That's it, for sure. I couldn't agree with you more, mate.
Pleasure.
Onwards and upwards then.
Indeed.
So, well, I will wish you. I'll speak to you before. Technically, this is weeks until, but this will be coming out just before the New Year. So, Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to everyone that's listening, downloading, and looking forward to 2023. Hope all your dreams and wishes and intentions come true for you. And thank you again for listening.
Yeah, okay. Speak to you soon, Matt.
All the best, buddy. I'll see you. See you when I speak to you next.
Cheers, pal.
All the best, mate. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening, and once again, have a great new year. If you like what you hear, then remember there are 68 other episodes going back almost 2 years that you can check out, where we talk about things like setting up your guitar, the best budget guitar amps, music theory, and even a Guitar Smarts pub quiz. Go and enjoy them. Anyway, best wishes. See you next time on the Guitar Smarts podcast. Bye-bye.